The frontier station named Halloway Drift was quiet in a way that made most people uneasy. Metal walls hummed softly. Lights stayed dim to save power. Outside, stars burned cold and distant, uncaring of who lived or died between them. Eli Carter lived there alone. He was a human systems engineer, hired because he was cheap, careful, and willing to work far from home. He did his job, fixed what broke, and avoided trouble. Other species passed through the station often, but no one stayed long. Humans were still seen as weak by the wider galaxy, useful but not important. Eli did not argue with that. He just survived. That night, Eli was half asleep on his narrow bed, one arm hanging off the side when his door slid open. There was no alarm, no warning sound. Just the quiet hiss of the seal breaking. Eli's eyes opened at once. Years of living alone in dangerous places had trained him well. He reached for the small tool he kept near his pillow, heart beating hard. The room lights flickered as a tall shape stepped inside. She did not sneak. She did not speak. She closed the door behind her and leaned against it, breathing fast. Eli sat up slowly, fear crawling into his chest. The figure was clearly not human. She was tall, much taller than him, with long limbs and skin that reflected the light like dark stone. Her eyes glowed faintly silver. She wore heavy armor, cracked and sparking, as if it had been damaged by weapons or fire. Before Eli could say a word, she reached up and tore the armor from her shoulders. It hit the floor with a heavy clang. Then she pulled away the rest, burned plates, shattered tech, glowing devices that hissed angrily as they fell. The air filled with a sharp smell like metal and ozone. Eli froze. This was not what he had expected. Fear mixed with confusion. He could see now that parts of the armor were eating into her skin, glowing lines cutting deeper every second. She stepped forward unsteady and collapsed onto his bed. The mattress dipped under her weight. The station lights flickered again, then steadied. Eli stared at her, mind racing. She was injured, badly. Her breathing was uneven. Her eyes fluttered, but she did not lose consciousness. She looked at him. "Safe," she said in broken trade common. "Here." Then she went still. For a long moment, Eli did not move. His first thought was that this was a trap. Aliens did not just walk into human rooms. Especially not ones like her. He could see markings on her skin, symbols that meant rank, power, command. He had seen them only in data files and warnings. His second thought was that if anyone found her here, he would be dead. The station's security forces were not human. They belonged to the Coalition, a group that claimed to protect peace but ruled through force. Harboring a fugitive, especially one like this, meant execution. Eli swallowed. Slowly, carefully, he stood. He approached the bed, keeping his hands where she could see them. Up close, he could see the damage clearly. Small metal shapes crawled over her skin, biting in and glowing, tracking devices, punishment tech. "They're killing you," Eli whispered. Her eyes focused on him again. She nodded once. "Remove," she said. "If not, they find me." Eli had never worked on alien biology before, but technology was technology, and pain was universal. He grabbed his med kit and tools, hands shaking as he knelt beside the bed. He worked slowly, cutting power lines, pulling the devices free one by one. Each time she tensed but did not cry out. Sweat formed on her skin, glowing faintly under the lights. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the last device went dark. The room felt quieter after that, as if the station itself had taken a breath. Eli backed away, wiping his hands on his pants. His heart was still pounding. "Why here?" he asked quietly. She turned her head, eyes studying him. There was surprise there and something else, curiosity. "Human rooms," she said. "Life signs, chaotic, trackers struggle." Eli let out a short, humorless laugh. "Figures, even our heartbeats are messy." She did not understand the joke, but she watched him closely. "Name," she said. Eli Carter." She hesitated. Then Commander Sierra. The word commander made Eli's stomach drop. You're important, he said. Yes. And people are looking for you. Yes. Eli ran a hand through his hair. This was bad, very bad. Before he could say anything else, the station lights dimmed. A low tone echoed through the walls. Scan alert. Sierra's eyes widened. She pushed herself up, pain flashing across her face. They are close. Eli moved without thinking. He grabbed a thick thermal blanket and threw it over her. He rushed to the wall panel and pulled it open, revealing a mess of wires and old switches. Modern alien systems relied on clean signals and perfect order. Human stations still had manual controls, old ones, messy ones. He flipped switches, rerouted power, and cut external sensors to his room. Outside, boots echoed in the corridor. Eli held his breath. A voice sounded through the door, cold and sharp, speaking in coalition code. Scanners swept past, light pressing against the walls. Sierra stayed completely still beneath the blanket. The scanners hesitated, then moved on. Footsteps faded. Eli sank down against the wall, chest heaving. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Finally, Sierra lowered the blanket and looked at him. Her expression had changed. The fear was still there, but something else had joined it. Respect. You risked death, she said. Eli shrugged weakly. Didn't feel like much of a choice. She studied the small room, the plain walls, the tools, the bed she still sat on. In my people's records, she said slowly, humans hide, humans submit. Eli met her gaze. Sometimes we don't. Outside, the station returned to its quiet hum, but nothing was the same anymore. In a forgotten corner of space, on a small bed meant for one lonely human, something had begun that neither of them yet understood. And the galaxy would pay for underestimating it. The hours after the scan passed felt longer than the night itself. Eli did not sleep. He sat on the metal chair near the wall, watching Sierra breathe. The station lights stayed low, cycling through artificial night, but his mind refused to rest. Every sound made his muscles tense. Every flicker of light felt like danger returning. Sierra lay on his bed, still wrapped in the thermal blanket. Her wounds had stopped glowing, but dark marks remained on her skin where the tracking devices had been. She was unconscious now, her breathing slow and deep, the kind that came after extreme pain. Eli checked the corridor feed again. Empty. He rubbed his face and sighed quietly. He had broken so many rules already that it almost felt pointless to worry about one more. Still, instinct kept him alert. Humans survived by staying alert. After several hours, Sierra stirred. Her eyes opened suddenly, sharp and aware. She sat up too fast, then froze as pain hit her again. Eli stood at once, hands raised slightly to show he meant no harm. Easy, he said. You're safe for now. She looked around the room as if seeing it for the first time. The small space, the exposed wiring panel, the tool rack, the single bed. You did not restrain me, she said. No reason to, Eli replied. You're injured, not dangerous, at least I hope not. A corner of her mouth lifted slightly. If I wished you harm, human, you would already be dead. Eli nodded. Good to know. She slowly swung her legs over the side of the bed. Her movements were careful now, controlled. She was still weak, but not helpless. You removed the trackers, she said, without knowledge of my biology. I guessed, Eli answered. Tech behaves the same no matter who builds it. Power in, signal out. Pain is usually a sign something's wrong. Sierra studied him closely. You are calm for someone facing execution. Eli let out a small laugh. I'm not calm, I'm just used to bad odds. She tilted her head slightly. Explain. Humans, Eli said, choosing his words, don't usually get fair chances. We learn to work with what we have. Sierra considered that. That explains the systems you used. They were crude, disordered. They worked, Eli said. Yes, she admitted, they did. Silence filled the room again, but it was different now. Less tense, still dangerous, but no longer sharp. Sierra's gaze drifted to the door. They will return. I know, Eli said. Scans come in cycles. They'll widen the search. You should turn me in, she said calmly. The reward would be significant. Eli shook his head. Wouldn't matter. Humans don't get rewards, we get blamed. That made her pause. In the coalition, she said slowly, humans are considered compliant, predictable, easy to pressure. Eli looked at her. You broke into my room because our life signs confuse trackers. Yes, so predictable we're unpredictable, he said. Funny how that works. Sira was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, you did not ask why I fled. I figured you'd tell me when ready, Eli replied. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Most species demand answers. Most species have power, Eli said. I don't. That answer seemed to affect her more than he expected. She straightened a little. I am hunted because I refuse to obey, she said. Obey what? Eli asked. The surrender of my people, Sira said. The coalition demanded access to our worlds, our fleets, our children. They call it protection. It is control. Eli's jaw tightened. And you said no. Yes. So they're hunting you. They are erasing me, she corrected. If I die, my refusal dies with me. Eli walked to the wall and leaned against it, thinking. You said you have proof, Sira nodded. Data cores, hidden. They show centuries of lies, forced treaties, silent wars. Enough to break them, Eli asked. Enough to change the galaxy, she said. Eli exhaled slowly. That was worse than he thought. You can't stay here, he said. I know. They'll lock this station down, he continued. Human or not, they'll tear it apart. Then you must leave me, Sira said. Eli looked at her, really looked, powerful, wounded, hunted, and still unbroken. No, he said quietly. She blinked. Why? Eli did not answer at once. He crossed the room and picked up a small data pad, old and scratched. He turned it in his hands. Because, he said finally, someone once told me humans hide and submit, and I'm tired of proving them right. Sira watched him closely. Helping me will not save your species. Maybe not today, Eli said, but it's a start. A low vibration passed through the station. Eli felt it through the floor. Docking clamps, he muttered. They're bringing in enforcement units. Sira stood, steadying herself on the bed. Then time is gone. Eli nodded. I have an escape route, old freight tunnel. Not on coalition maps. Why? She asked. Why would a human station have that? Eli smiled faintly. Because humans plan for things going wrong. They moved quickly. Eli grabbed supplies, data cables, power cells. Sira followed, slower but determined. The tunnel access was hidden behind a maintenance wall, sealed with manual locks. As Eli worked, Sira spoke softly. When I entered your room, it was not only strategy. Eli paused. It was. No, she said. Humans still choose to protect individuals. My people lost that long ago. Eli opened the hatch. Cold air rushed out, carrying the scent of metal and vacuum. Guess we're stubborn like that, he said. Behind them, alarms began to scream. The station lights flared bright red. They have discovered the interference, Sira said. Eli climbed into the tunnel and turned back to her. Then let's disappoint them. She took his hand. Her grip was strong, steady. Together, human and alien disappeared into the dark, while the coalition closed in too late. And for the first time in a very long time, the galaxy was about to learn that humans did not stay small forever. The freight tunnel was colder than Eli expected. Thin frost clung to the metal walls, and the lights flickered as if unsure they still wanted to work. The space was narrow, built for machines and cargo drones, not living beings. Every sound echoed too loudly. Eli moved first, leading the way. Sira followed close behind him. Her steps were quiet, careful, but strong despite her injuries. She did not complain. She did not slow him down. Behind them, alarms echoed through the station like distant thunder. They will seal the exits, Sira said calmly. They learn fast. They learn patterns, Eli replied. Humans break them. He stopped at a junction and pulled open another panel, exposing more wires and a manual switch. He flipped it and the lights ahead died completely. Sira stiffened. You blind us. I blind them, Eli said. They hate darkness. Their optics rely on clean signals. They moved forward in near silence, guided only by dim emergency strips along the floor. Eli's heart pounded, but his hands were steady. He had spent his life fixing things no one else wanted to touch. This was no different, just more dangerous. After several long minutes, the tunnel opened into a wider chamber. Old cargo crates floated in low gravity, chained to the walls. A small human shuttle rested at the far end, its hull scratched and patched. Sierra stopped walking. "That ship," she said slowly, "is obsolete." Eli smiled. "That's why it still works." He reached the shuttle and powered it up. The engines hummed weakly but steadily. The control panel lit up with simple displays, no sleek alien interfaces, no automated commands, just switches, dials, and buttons. Sierra watched him with open interest now. "You trust your hands more than machines," she said. "I trust what I can fix," Eli replied. The alarms grew louder. The station shook as heavy boots hit metal nearby. "They are close," Sierra said. Eli opened the shuttle hatch. "Then let's leave." As soon as they sealed the door, the shuttle detached with a sharp jolt. The engines roared to life, louder than Eli liked but strong enough. The small craft shot down the tunnel, scraping sparks from the walls. Behind them, weapons' fire lit the darkness. Sierra grabbed a handhold as the shuttle shook. "They will pursue." "I know," Eli said, eyes locked on the controls. "Hold on." The shuttle burst out of the station and into open space. Stars exploded into view. Eli did not slow down. He pushed the engines past safe limits, ignoring warning lights. The shuttle screamed in protest but obeyed. Several coalition fighters launched after them, sleek and fast. "They are faster," Sierra said. "They're smarter too," Eli said. "That's their weakness." He cut power suddenly. The shuttle went dark. Sierra felt her weight vanish as they drifted. The coalition fighters flew past them at full speed, sensors locked on energy signatures that no longer existed. Moments later, Eli brought the engines back online, low and quiet. They changed course sharply and vanished into a nearby asteroid field. For a long time, neither of them spoke. When Eli finally relaxed back into his seat, his hands were shaking. "We're alive," he said softly. Sierra looked at him, her silver eyes bright. "You use stillness as a weapon. Sometimes doing nothing is the smartest move," Eli replied. The shuttle drifted deeper into the asteroid field, hiding among rock and shadow. Eli set the ship to autopilot and turned toward Sierra. "You okay?" he asked. "I will recover," she said. "Your assistance was effective," he laughed quietly. "That's one way to put it." Silence settled between them again, but it was no longer heavy. Something had changed. They were no longer just protector and fugitive. They were partners in something far larger. Sierra studied the small cockpit. "You risked your world for me." Eli shook his head. "I didn't. I risked my life. The galaxy already ignores us." "That will not last," Sierra said. She reached to a compartment on her arm and removed a thin crystal shard. It pulsed faintly with light. "This holds the truth," she said, "but it cannot be released yet." "Why not?" Eli asked. "Because truth without strength is just noise," she replied. "The coalition will silence it." Eli thought about that. "Then we need leverage." "Yes, something they can't ignore." Sierra nodded slowly. "There is such a place." She brought up a star map on the shuttle's display. One system blinked at the edge of known space. "The assembly nexus," she said, "where all major species listen." Eli frowned. "That's heavily guarded." "Yes, and impossible for us to reach," he added. "Impossible for them," Sierra corrected. "Not for humans." Eli raised an eyebrow. "You're trusting us a lot." "I entered your bed without knowing your name," she said calmly. "Trust has already begun." Eli flushed slightly but said nothing. The shuttle drifted in silence for hours. Sierra rested, her strength slowly returning. Eli worked tuning systems, rerouting power, making the old ship better than it had ever been. As time passed, Sierra watched him more openly. "You work without orders," she observed. "Never had anyone to give them," Eli replied. In my command, she said, every action requires approval, layers of control. Sounds exhausting. It is, she admitted. She stood and moved closer to him, not threatening, just curious. You do not see yourself as important, she said. Eli shrugged. Most humans don't. That is your advantage, Sira said quietly. The coalition cannot predict those who do not seek power. Eli met her gaze. Neither can tyrants. The shuttle's sensors pinged suddenly. Incoming signal. Eli froze. That's not possible. We're hidden. Sierra looked at the display. It is not coalition. The signal opened automatically. A human voice filled the cockpit. Unidentified shuttle, this is Outpost 9. If you can hear this, do not respond openly. Eli's eyes widened. Human? Yes, the voice continued. We've been watching coalition movements. They're hunting something or someone. Sierra stiffened. We don't know why, the voice said, but if you're in trouble, you're not alone. Eli swallowed hard. Since when do humans watch the coalition? Since they stopped hiding, the voice replied. Eli looked at Sierra. She understood instantly. Humans were changing, slowly, quietly, but they were changing. This is Eli Carter, he said into the console. We could use some help. The reply came after a pause. Then welcome to the part of humanity the galaxy forgot. The signal cut. Eli leaned back, stunned. Sierra watched him, something like wonder in her eyes. You are not alone anymore, she said. Eli nodded slowly. Far away, coalition fleets searched empty space, unaware that the smallest species they had dismissed was beginning to move. And once humans started moving together, the galaxy would never be the same. The asteroid field thinned as the shuttle followed a narrow path only human scanners could read. The rocks were dense with metal and radiation pockets that confused advanced sensors. Coalition ships avoided such places. Humans did not. Eli kept his hands steady on the controls while the signal coordinates from Outpost 9 guided them forward. The shuttle slipped through shadow and stone until a faint glow appeared ahead. Hidden inside the largest asteroid was a human-built station. It did not look impressive. No shining towers, no smooth curves, just thick armor plates layered in ugly angles covered in repair marks and patched panels. Old antennas stuck out in every direction. It looked broken. But it was alive. As they approached, automated turrets tracked the shuttle, then powered down. A docking arm extended. Friendly confirmed, a voice said over comms. Docking granted. Eli let out a breath he did not realize he was holding. Inside the station, gravity returned slowly. The air smelled recycled, slightly metallic but warm. The doors opened to reveal humans, dozens of them. Engineers, pilots, soldiers, medics, all watching quietly. No cheers, no loud questions, just recognition. Sierra paused beside Eli. Her posture was calm, but her eyes moved quickly, taking everything in. These humans did not look like servants or traders. They looked prepared. A tall woman stepped forward. Her hair was gray at the edges, her uniform plain and worn. I'm Commander Reyes, she said. You're the reason coalition patrols are acting nervous. Eli nodded awkwardly. I guess so. Her gaze shifted to Sierra. And you must be the problem they're so desperate to erase. Sierra met her eyes without fear. I am. Reyes studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Good. We've been waiting for someone like you. They were led into the station's core. It was crowded with screens, old tech mixed with stolen alien parts, all wired together in ways that would make coalition engineers panic. Data flowed constantly. This isn't an official base, Reyes explained as they walked. Doesn't exist on any map. Of course it doesn't, Eli said. Reyes smiled faintly. Humans learned early, if you want to survive, don't be visible. Sierra stopped near a large display showing the galaxy. Red markers showed coalition fleet movements. They hunt blindly, she said, aggressive, wasteful. They always are when they're scared, Reyes replied. Sierra turned to her. You know what I carry? Yes, Reyes said. Or at least part of it, enough to know this could end a long war. Eli looked between them. War, Reyes glanced at him. Cold one, quiet one. The kind where whole species disappear and no one asks why. Sira stepped forward. The coalition claims peace. But it is built on fear, on erased history. Reyes nodded. We know, we just never had proof. Sira raised her arm and removed the crystal shard. The room grew still as its light reflected across the screens. This contains records, she said. Treaties forced under threat. World stripped of resources, children taken for education, entire fleets destroyed and blamed on accidents. A low murmur passed through the humans. Eli felt his stomach tighten. And if we release it, they will deny it, Reyes said. Then they'll attack us openly. Sira nodded, which is why timing matters. Reyes tapped the display, zooming in on a massive structure at the center of known space. The assembly nexus, she said. Every major species sends representatives there. It's broadcast everywhere. They won't let us near it, Eli said. No, Reyes agreed, but they'll let me. She turned to Sira. You will testify, Sira's eyes narrowed. They will try to silence me. They'll try, Reyes said, and fail. Reyes looked around the room. Humans don't win by strength. We win by preparation. Over the next days, the station became a hive of activity. Eli barely slept. He worked with engineers upgrading ships, rerouting old human tech to bypass coalition detection. Sira trained with human soldiers, adapting to their strange tactics. She learned quickly. They do not move like warriors, she said once, watching a training exercise. They scatter, they adapt. Straight lines get you killed, Eli replied. She watched humans argue openly, question orders, fix problems without waiting for permission. At first it confused her. Then she began to understand. Power was not centralized, it was shared. On the third day, coalition fleets shifted position. The red markers crept closer to human space. They suspect, Reyes said. Good. The plan was dangerous. A small human convoy would approach the assembly nexus under legal trade status. Sira would appear publicly, alive. The data would be broadcast before the coalition could react. Eli stood with Sira in a quiet corridor before departure. You don't have to do this, he said. Once you step out there, there's no hiding. Sira looked at him. I did not run to hide, I ran to speak. He nodded, just wanted to be sure. She studied him for a moment. You still see yourself as small. Eli shrugged. Hard habit to break. You saved me without orders, she said. That is not small. Before he could reply, alarm sounded, not internal but external. Reyes' voice echoed through the station. Coalition fleet inbound, they've found us. Eli's blood ran cold. Already. Sooner than expected, Reyes said. All hands move. The station shook as weapons powered up. Human ships launched in waves, old and mismatched but fast. Sira straightened. They come for me. They come for all of us, Eli said. Reyes appeared beside them. Change of plan. We move now. The convoy launched under fire. Coalition ships poured into the area, sleek and overwhelming. Shields failing, someone shouted. Route power manually, another yelled. Eli strapped into the shuttle beside Sira as explosions lit the void. They outnumber us, Sira said calmly. They always do, Eli replied. Human ships did not form lines. They scattered, vanished, reappeared. They used asteroids, debris, even damaged hulls as cover. They shut down engines mid-fight to vanish from sensors, then struck from impossible angles. Coalition commanders shouted orders. Their fleets hesitated, trying to regain control. That hesitation was enough. The convoy broke through. As they neared the assembly nexus, the massive structure loomed ahead, glowing with thousands of lights. Broadcast signals poured out in every direction. Coalition ships surged to block them. This is it, Eli said. Sira rose from her seat. Open channel. Reyes' voice came through. You're live. Sira stepped forward into the broadcast field. Her image spread across the galaxy. I am Commander Sira of the Viral, she said, voice steady. I was ordered to surrender my people. I refused. Coalition weapons fired. Human ships surged forward, taking hits meant for the convoy. Eli gripped the controls, heart hammering. Sira raised the crystal shard. This is the truth you were denied. The data burst across the network. Every screen, every channel, history rewritten in real time. Coalition signals spiked, then fractured. Confusion spread, orders conflicted, fleets hesitated. Eli watched as coalition ships began to pull back, not retreating but unsure. "They're losing control," he whispered. Sira lowered her arm. "Now they cannot erase me." Around them, the galaxy watched. And for the first time, humanity was not hiding in the shadows. They were standing between truth and tyranny, and they did not move aside. The galaxy had never been quiet after truth was released. Every screen, every network, every communication channel carried the broadcast of Sira and her crystal shard. Entire fleets froze in disbelief. Leaders of empires could not deny what appeared before their eyes. Historical records, treaties, fleets lost in accidents, worlds surrendered without consent, all now visible to everyone. Eli sat in the shuttle beside Sira, eyes glued to the monitor. Human ships streamed toward safe zones, pulling civilians, refugees, and allies behind them. The coalition's perfectly planned command chains were in chaos. Orders were shouted, then ignored, as no one trusted a hierarchy built on lies. Sira, calm yet determined, observed quietly. Her silver eyes reflected not only the screens but something deeper, hope, and a measure of respect she had not expected to feel for humans. "They underestimate you," she said softly. Eli shrugged. "They always do. Doesn't mean we stay quiet." "Not quiet," Sira corrected. "Alive, strong, unpredictable. Humans embody what my people once believed impossible. That is why I trusted you." He turned to her, confused. "Trusted me because I didn't give orders, because I didn't panic." Sira shook her head. "Because you acted without seeking reward. Because you protected without fear. That is something our history forgot." The shuttle hummed as it guided itself toward a rendezvous point in unclaimed space. Coalition ships swarmed in pursuit, but their attacks were scattered, disorganized. Human tactics were unconventional. They used every asteroid, debris field, and shadow to their advantage. Sabotaged coalition systems, hacked long-range sensors, and unpredictable maneuvers created openings no traditional fleet could anticipate. Reyes' voice came over the comms. "All units converge on the assembly nexus. The broadcast continues. Protect Sira at all costs." Eli glanced at Sira. This is bigger than us." She nodded. "Yes, but humans are proving that size, speed, or fear does not define survival. Choice does, courage does. Truth does." The assembly nexus rose in the distance. Its massive, crystalline towers reflected distant starlight, pulsing with data streams. Every major species sent representatives there, expecting routine diplomacy. They were unprepared for what was coming. Sira moved to the communication console. Eli leaned over her shoulder as she aligned the crystal shard signal with the Nexus network. Across the galaxy, millions of eyes focused on the broadcast. "Attention!" Sira's voice rang out, clear and firm. "I am Commander Sira of the Vial. I have fled to speak the truth. My people were ordered to surrender. Our worlds were stripped of freedom under the guise of peace. For centuries, the Coalition has rewritten history, erased the voices of those who refused compliance, and punished the innocent. This ends today." The screens showed documents, holograms, and proof of atrocities. Worlds once thought loyal to the Coalition now realized their governments had been complicit. Fleets halted mid-space. Communications jammed. Confusion spread across every species. Eli felt sweat bead on his forehead as he gripped the shuttle's armrest. This is incredible." Sira turned to him. "No, it is expected. They underestimated humans and your unpredictability. They believed fear alone would control the galaxy. It did not." From behind them, Reyes' fleet engaged the remaining Coalition interceptors. Explosions lit the void. ships tumbling in silence and fire. Human pilots used ingenuity over brute force. A small freighter would trick an entire cruiser into collision with an asteroid. Drones hacked enemy shields to collapse inward. Humans fought not just with weapons but with creativity. Sira watched, impressed. Your species fights with mind, not only muscle. That is why you survived. Eli's eyes met hers. We always survive, one way or another, she smiled faintly. Yes, but survival is not enough. You fight for more than life. You fight for truth, for choice, for hope. That is rare. The Nexus had begun to rebroadcast her message, amplified across every major system. Coalition fleets scrambled to respond, but confusion was too deep. Their command hierarchy faltered as they realized their secrets were now universal knowledge. Panic spread. In the middle of chaos, the human convoy entered the Nexus airspace. Representatives of every species watched, uncertain, some horrified, some shocked, some silently relieved. Sira's live feed streamed to every screen. Truth was unstoppable now. Eli sat back, exhausted but alert. They won't give up easily. No, Sira said. But they will hesitate. They are no longer in full control. Behind the broadcast, coalition leaders debated. Internal dissent began. Members of their fleets questioned orders. Some defected. Others sabotaged their own equipment to avoid being part of mass deception. Sira turned to Eli. Your presence, your species, it matters more than I expected. Eli felt warmth spread through his chest. We just do what we have to do. Humans can't stand by forever. Someone has to act. They act without fear of reputation, she said softly. Without craving power, without submitting to false authority. That is why your species will shape this galaxy. Hours passed. Coalition forces pulled back. Confusion reigned in every command center. Humans and their allies held the Nexus. Sira's broadcast ended, but proof and documents continued to circulate. Every species could see the truth, and no one could undo it. Eli finally allowed himself to relax. He leaned back in the shuttle chair. So, we did it. Sira's silver eyes met his, thoughtful. You did more than survive. You protected life, spoke for freedom, and defied expectation. You have changed more than your corner of the galaxy. You have changed its perception of humanity. Eli smiled faintly, tired but satisfied. I guess humans are underestimated for a reason. Sira stood, looking out of the shuttle viewport at the glittering Nexus below. They will respect humans now, or fear them. Either way, they will remember. Eli glanced at her. And you, what now? She turned to him, her expression softening. I return to my people. I have work to do, but I do not leave this place with anger. I leave with trust, and humans have earned that trust. Eli nodded. We're good at surviving, but I think we're even better at surprising the galaxy. Sira placed a hand lightly on his shoulder, not commanding, not threatening, just acknowledgement. It was your courage that allowed this. My people would never have believed humans capable of such things. I didn't do it alone, Eli said. We humans, we always help when needed, even if no one notices, Sira smiled. Then consider me a witness and a reminder. Humanity is no longer small. It is no longer ignored. Outside, stars stretched endlessly. The galaxy's political web was fractured but awake. History had been rewritten not with fire alone, but with courage, choice, and truth. Eli leaned back in his chair. He felt the shuttle hum beneath him, carrying him, Sira, and the weight of change. Humans had always survived. Now they would be remembered. In a quiet corner of space, on a small human-built shuttle, two unlikely allies watched as the galaxy shifted beneath them. They had acted when others hesitated. They had shown that courage, ingenuity, and truth could topple lies. And the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. Eli looked at Sira one last time before she prepared to leave. If you ever need help again, Sira shook her head, smiling faintly. You have done enough. But remember this, humans are unpredictable, unstoppable when united, and stronger than anyone ever believed. That is a fact no empire can ignore. The shuttle moved away from the Nexus. Coalition forces scrambled to regroup, but it was too late. Humanity had begun to rise and the galaxy had taken notice. Eli sat back, exhausted, a quiet pride settling over him. He thought of the lonely nights, the quiet frontier station, the small choices that became the difference between life and death. He had acted without thinking of reward, without seeking glory. That was enough, and the galaxy would remember. Sierra's figure faded into the shuttle corridor as she prepared to return to her people. Eli smiled faintly, looking out at the stars. A small human had changed the course of galactic history, and for the first time he felt that humanity's place among the stars was no longer small, no longer ignored. For once, humans were seen for what they truly were: unpredictable, brave, and unstoppable. And the universe would never forget it. The galaxy was awake. Humanity had begun its rise, and nothing would ever be the same.